Today, I want to take you on a journey through fascinating interval theory, starting with the Dorian mode. In terms of its structure, the Dorian mode is unique among the 7 modes. This is not obvious at first glance, so let's look closer at the distances from one note to the next. I count those distances in chromatic steps, so from C to D, it's 2 chromatic steps, and so on. This sequence of numbers is the horizontal formula of the Dorian mode, and the special character trait of the Dorian is that it's the only mode that is a palindrome. So the sequence remains the same no matter which direction we read the horizontal formula, forward or backward. Although we won't use that property for today's composition, please keep that in mind as this is crucial for scale reflection and negative harmony. Anyway, let's return to the topic and our first step, basic melody and harmony. If you've seen a few of my videos already, you know I like simple stuff to start with, pretty much something like this. The whole line is based on the Dorian mode over the C root, and I only use triads on the left hand. An unintended fun fact is that I only use triads with a minor feel. Actually, this is completely irrelevant to what I do next, but I thought it was funny to still point it out. I'm assuming that this line feels complete to you, right? But did you recognize that it consists of 7 bars and not the usual 8 or 12? Interesting, right? In short, the form gives this line the feeling of being complete. There are no open loops or unanswered questions. But let's move on to the next step and develop both hands separately. I start with the bass, and I actually want to play you the bass line on its own before we listen to the full line. You recognize that the bass section sounds complete on its own, and now let's quickly hear it with the melody. Now, the vertical distance from the melody to the lower section is still very wide, so we can either move the bass section up or use a second part below the melody. Both options help us close the space between the parts, and I went with writing a second part to the melody. I jumped on a chord tone whenever possible to make the line thicker. Here is what this example sounds like. I like the marching rhythm in the treble, so I will focus more on that. Furthermore, these whole notes in the melody offer the opportunity to use scale tone runs to keep the energy flowing. Here's the developed version. If you want to stick to the diatonic world, stop here. But honestly, the whole fun part will hit us in only a second. Let's take things further and put some magical interval theory fairy dust on top. In short, I changed the first 2 runs from scale tones to interval patterns. And in particular, it's a 1 plus 3, which means alternating between 1 chromatic step and 3. Even some poly-6 structures found their way into this composition, and if you know jazz theory, you're familiar with those things under the name tritone substitutions. In fact, the 1+3 run inspired me to use these two intervals in the bass even more. So I used some new accidentals to match the pattern of down 1, 3 up, and another 3 up. That's why I hit the A flat, the D flat, and the natural E in the bass. None of these tones are part of the Dorian mode over C, but now you know why I use them. And don't forget that you can even change the mode or scale for any of those bass tones. That's why I'm using the Mixolydian over the E root. I simply liked the sound of that, as it was a nice moment of contrast. It's funny because when you look at the finished version, you would never know I started on the Dorian mode. And this is really just the beginning. That's a short fragment of a sketch that we can orchestrate and put into a bigger context later. If you want to study with me and finally learn how to compose exciting music based on your unique voice, all the information is below. Many thanks for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Best always.